You'll notice too when you get deeper into research with blockchain in real estate related activities that a lot of it steers to cheaper fees, cheaper costs, those kind of things, which in a certain sense, a lot of people are talking about it cutting out realtors and lenders.
I just think that it would take a long time for that checks and balances to play into effect because people still crave people interaction to be able to build trust.
Right. I went across an article on National Association of Realtors website regarding blockchain. And what it was saying was just that it's been talked about, but there's been no promises. There's been nothing written out. Nothing's been coming out. And a lot of people are speaking on it, cutting realtors out, but I don't think it's going to do that. What I was reading was like 50% of people don't even know what it is.
It's kind of like the idea of the cloud. Nobody really knows what it is.
Right, and so we're starting to learn more of it. 32% of those 52% or 30%, I don't know if I'm saying the right numbers, but they believe that it will affect real estate. How? We don't know yet, but I think as long as we are knowledgeable on it, it shouldn't affect any style, just make it a lot easier.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sam Maurer Hour. I'm here with another special guest, Tom Dunphy. Thank you so much for being here. You've been in real estate for about 8 years now?
That is correct.
Nice. So 8 years, and you're with Lion Real Estate, right?
Yep, Lion Real Estate.
Have you been with Lion the whole time?
Whole time, all 8 years up in Auburn.
Auburn. Okay, nice. I love it up there. Auburn's very, very nice.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. All the trees and the sceneries and the bridges, and you know, I literally love to hike, so it's awesome.
Yeah, the only bummer about up there is California Fair Plan.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
We're used to that after you get past Penryn. If you don't know, if you're in Northern California, you're usually going to see, if you're in rural, you're going to see California Fair Plan, which is higher insurance.
Pretty much anywhere from Sierra College and up.
Yeah, which is super fun for our clients, but all we can do is our best. But I'm glad to have you, man.
Yeah.
We're kind of talking about ideas of what's relevant, what's going on. And I figured you brought it up to me about blockchain technology and also just like the Bitcoin halving was last Friday. Cause I'm into Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrency stuff like that.
Yeah. Crypto is amazing. You know, it's everywhere, right? I'm not much of an investor in it yet. I just, like I was telling you earlier, I put $100 in. I think I made $18 today.
Shiba?
Pretty fun. Yeah, Shiba.
Nice. The meme coins, baby. Nice. Right. Yeah. It's good. I think it has its place, and right now we're in the midst of something pretty amazing. Yeah. So Bitcoin halving, I think I kind of gave you like a little rundown, but essentially all they're doing, they cut the amount of coins that can actually be mined in half. So theoretically the demand should be a lot higher because the scarcity just went a lot higher. Well, I should say the inventory got a lot lower, or future inventory, if you will. So that's what's happening. But of course, we know Bitcoin, we're no professionals when it comes to cryptocurrency, but I think of it in terms of it's working on the blockchain technology. We do know that. And I think about it in terms of, we know the Bitcoin halving, it's been a big thing. Cryptocurrency has never been more mainstream as it has now, especially with the Bitcoin ETF that's been approved, the spot ETF. And also I think Ethereum, they're working on an ETF.
Yeah. I'm not much versed in that.
No, you're fine. And honestly, the only reason why I bring it up is because it's just a fancy way of saying that there's a lot of old money coming into that market.
Yeah.
So when old money starts to get their hands on it and see the utility of it, I can then see mass adoption, which then I could see more mass adoption with using the blockchain technology to actually improve other avenues. And I could see that apparent in real estate for sure.
Well, I mean, technology in real estate's one wide thing that has been, I say technology in real estate's a really widely adopted, how do I want to put it?
They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, technology and real estate. And since in my 8 years, I've seen it develop from, online listings to virtual media to Matterport.
Because we're always trying to improve our efficiency, right?
Right. It's all about that. And also our marketability, all sorts of stuff. Now we have AI coming out.
Yeah.
Blockchain is going to be another tool. You know, when you look at it, the general concept of blockchain, right? You know, the blockchain tech, it's almost like a ledger, right? Like a digital ledger that's not regulated by one entity itself. And it's secure, safe and secure, and more people are becoming more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I think the decentralized part of it really creates that privacy element that I would personally like. And it's like one of those things to where, like, the best way that blockchain was described to me was like, think of a traditional transaction that's usually like a game of Whisper. Like typically it's like, you know how you're in high school and you are saying like, maybe there's like a rumor about someone, it ends up being so much more grand than your original message. The idea with blockchain is to eliminate that and make sure the original message is then translated properly to the actual sender. So you and the sender have a like a journaling between what you received and what you sent. So it's just like a full public diary, which
and no one can change it. It's a Google spreadsheet. No one can access and everyone can see, you know, so it makes it secure. I see it and adopted in so many different ways. I mean, if you Google, you know, a quick Google search on blockchain real estate, right? You'll find a lot of different uses that some companies are coming out with, some in New York for fractional shares.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
It's wild. We'll see how that kind of pours into the actual real estate market itself and not just the investment portfolio side. You can already own fractional shares of commercial properties. It's already been a thing.
Tell me about that, because I know that of course there's partnerships and like there's different ways to be able to have split share in an actual. There's split shares in businesses or even split shares in owning real estate. Is that the same thing?
Almost, you know, it can be a whole nother topic, right? As far as how you can own fractional shares in order to do not in order, but from a 1031 from another property, move that money into shares of other, you know, portfolios that other people own. You can do that, but it's not in the blockchain technology that's new.
Normally in a normal exchange, like a stock exchange, if you will, right?
Yes, a little bit of a difference in there, but normally it's kind of changed that same way. But blockchain's trying to make it more with the data.
Yeah.
What they're doing in a lot of places, especially in New York, is the only place I've really seen it pretty prevalent as far as the United States. Right?
That's what I was noticing too. I know it was one of the few purchases that was actually just fully purchased by Bitcoin. Was primarily in New York. I think there was one that was like over $15 million or something like that.
Yeah,
that was purchased.
Like that.
It was done through like BitPay or something. But to your point, for some reason, I think New York is just kind of like that. They're trying to innovate as much as they can. There's so many freaking people with so many different ideas, and technology is definitely prioritized.
And I'll say it's innovative, man. I mean, if you look at it and you look at, say, title, right? You know, going to the title side and escrow side, I mean, the documents can be securely transferred, less wire fraud.
Yep.
You know, and then identity, you know, they can regulate the identity of the client themselves and whoever's selling the property a lot easier, more secure, faster, streamlining escrows. Sellers get their money faster, buyers get their house faster.
Yeah. I could see that be good for people that feel like real estate's out of reach for them. I know we were just chatting with Jacob before this, and he was just saying like, I feel like a lot of first time home buyers feel like buying a home, especially in 2024, is so out of reach. But if you can have a fractionalized share in a piece of real estate and gain equity like that, that would be pretty cool. Just depends on how that would look and what kind of like actual rights you'd have for that property. I think that's the part that would need to be ironed out. But
of course. And then also too, with the same person thinking of that first time home buyer, this, you know, blockchain may not be for them specifically because they want to own something they can walk into.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's not like the metaverse style of real estate. You know, that they might want to own. That's not their first time home buyer purchase that they're expecting. Right. So I'm seeing it more hit investors and people who want to expand their portfolios like a stock, you know, as far as, because real estate has been the number one best investment you can invest in. Yeah. And it will historically give you a rate of return. Regardless if we go through another 2008, which that's another whole nother topic.
A whole nother topic. Yeah.
But I do see that there's levels to it. And, you know, what we should do as realtors and consumers and lenders is learn about it. Just know the basic knowledge of what a blockchain is, so that when in 3 to 5 years or so, when they start pulling up these, you know, new transactions, new markets. Oh, I've actually, my seller sold a fractional share of his property. He now wants to sell his house.
That would be weird.
See, so we may be getting into this deal, right? That we want to be knowledgeable on.
You have to be.
You'll notice too, when you get deeper into research with blockchain in real estate related activities or transactions, that a lot of it steers to cheaper fees, cheaper costs, those kind of things, which in a certain sense, a lot of people are talking about it cutting out realtors and lenders, right?
It very well could. I just think that it would take a long time for that checks and balances to play into effect, because people still crave people interaction to be able to build trust. Right. So I think that it would take time. I think it would be our next generation that might have to be dealing with that more often than us. But I think it's definitely.
I went across an article on National Association of Realtors website, and it was regarding blockchain. And so what it was talking about, I think it came out in January for 2024 technological innovation.
Nice.
And what it was saying was just that it's been talked about, but there's been no promises. There's been nothing written out. Nothing's been coming out. And a lot of people are speaking on it, cutting realtors out, but I don't think it's going to do that. I think it's going to, because what I was reading was like 50% of people don't even know what it is. 52% of in the 2023 technological survey.
It's kind of like the idea of the cloud. Nobody really knows what it is.
Right. And so we're starting to learn more of it. 32% of those 52% P or 30%, I don't know if I'm saying the right numbers, but they believe that it will affect real estate. How? We don't know yet, but I think as long as we are knowledgeable on it, it shouldn't affect any style. Just make it a lot easier.
No, it just comes to being really like looking at it from a perspective with adversity comes opportunity. And the more you are ahead of the game, the more you can figure out how to implement it into your business before it turns into like, oh, I'm against the machine now. Because that's what people are concerned about with AI. But my personal opinion on AI, I think there's going to be a plateau with it pretty soon, mainly because I think the Chat GPT-4 iteration is like they maxed out their data pool. That if anyone knows more about this, let me know in the comments. But essentially, what I've heard is that they might be running out of essentially the amount of data that the internet even provides. And we probably know that online has mostly crap information.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, I think there's going to be a plateau in AI and how much it can machine learn.
Well, I think there's going to be regulations too. I mean, you see an AI, AI's type in property descriptions and marketing tools and texting people automatically, calling people in certain regards sounds like a real human.
Have you got one of
I've gotten them before, and they're amazing. With that combined with the blockchain technology, right?
Yeah.
Because it's mixing. They're going to mix them at some point. I think that it's going to try to streamline transactions to cut a lot of people out, but it's inevitably not going to work because of that, human to human contact,
bonding
right?
need. Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting. And I think that it's going to come down to, I think you're right. It's definitely going to be they're going to interact between each other. But in terms of just like mass adoption, I truly, tell me if you feel this way, but I think we're in the midst of like the industrial revolution, but in a sense of just like the internet was the big thing. And then now it's going to be to the point to where things are going to be turned into automated. But
it started with self-checkout machines, right? It started with that kind of automated system coming through. But I mean, I don't know if I'm versed enough to talk about what that could potentially be later on as far as that, exact technological advances, right?
Well, most people, I think it's tough right now because it's so like the crypto and the blockchain side of things is still very widely expanded. So like people, when you introduce too many things like meme coins or gaming coins or AI coins or altcoins and then Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's kind of like the idea when you give a client too many options, they can't make a decision. Right. So like when there's so much and then people then like, they don't want to learn it, then they're like, they kind of just throw it off to the side and they go back to what they remember.
Well, and that's why you'll still need professionals.
Right.
To navigate these systems, and we should all be learning them, because if we don't, we're going to be left in the dust in a certain extent, as far as what transactions are going to do later on and what the consumer is going to feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got to be a prevalent factor to consider because like, especially like I think about people my age are really, really involved with the crypto and also just like blockchain in general. And I think of it in terms of, I know that there's going to be a lot of people, especially younger sellers, they're going to want a way to accept Bitcoin, especially if they're into it. Because I was reading some articles before this podcast and there's a lot of those purchases that were done in Bitcoin, which was not facilitated through a traditional escrow. They obviously got that Bitcoin in 2017. Look where Bitcoin's at now.
Right.
You don't see that happen anywhere else other than an asset like that. The currency that you bought an asset with that appreciates also appreciates. So that volatility poses positive and negative, right? So it's just, I think the more mass adoption that people start investing into like the old money, it's going to act more like a traditional stock, and it hasn't been nearly as volatile as it used to be.
Yeah, so it'll start to blend in that a little bit better.
It'll be interesting to see. But I think about my business, I could see people like lenders pop up for like Bitcoin lending and stuff like that. It would be interesting.
I mean, already there's clients of mine who have crypto who, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys can use certain, platforms, Coinbase being one of them. It's a slight blockchain.
The only way to do it now would be I would have to get a last 2 months statements or a quarterly statement. Right. And it needs to be transferred to an actual bank account in order to use. Yeah. So it has to be liquidated and put into a traditional account. So we're not there yet, but I know that it's going to get to a point where the crust is going to be asked and the demand is up. And all it takes is that first escrow company that says that I can facilitate cryptocurrencies. Mm-hmm. They will get so much business. It's unbelievable. The amount of young people that don't want to liquidate their crypto to a fiat money, it's a lot. Mm-hmm. Crypto's become a really, really big factor. And I think about it on the perspective, it'll probably start there. And also then, of course, if that starts getting implemented, then they'll probably want to explore how do you, I guess, more utilize the blockchain to be more efficient, save escrow company money, real estate company money, like, because I think about smart contracts for everything.
Well, and about smart contracts, right? You get into a weird kind of dangerous area when it comes to that, because the contract itself has been upgraded and upgraded since I've started to include more and more and more pages. Yeah. So as you go into a smart contract, now are you simplifying those pages to be smaller so the fine print is now smaller? What are they agreeing to? I think there's going to be a lot of talk on if smart contracts are going to be able to even work with an actual real estate regulated transaction when it comes to the CYA part of it on all sides. Yeah. There's so many different laws and lawsuits that are ever changing.
That's right? Why our purchase contract's 15 or 16 pages.
Yeah, 16 pages. Yeah. And it's like, whoa, it started out at 12. Now we've added 4.
It started off with 1.
It started off 1, before our time. Right?
My dad's been in the business for like 41 years. He was telling me that he's seen contracts written on napkins before in his career.
Or that's on the hood of somebody's car. You always talk about it, and now that ease will kind of come back to it. I think if blockchain's adopted widespread, in the actual real estate transactional management side, I think for escrow, preliminary title reports, great. Lenders, as far as like, I'm not on the lending side as far as how you guys regulate your info and your systems. Yeah,
it would be interesting because, in terms of documentation that people like you're required to sign, it goes initial disclosures, pretty much your intent, right? Like your intent to proceed documents outlining your preliminary numbers. Then you have your loan estimate, closing disclosure, and of course, loan documents. So I could see a lot of those like internal lender fees kind of tightening up because, like, I don't know if you've heard of the lender United Wholesale Mortgage. I'm sure you have. Yeah. But they've really adopted technology as their friend, and it's done them wonders when it comes to their pricing and their efficiency.
And that's what technology's for.
So that's why I can see some of the lenders that are already ahead of the game with that, implementing similar items like blockchain technology within some of the items that, of course, if it's going to be cheaper, if it's going to cost $100 to create X document, it costs $5 here, then which one you're going to go with, right? And also you can maintain the same privacy that you could prior to instead of just using a traditional firewall.
Right.
Yeah. So the one problem that I've seen, I've actually had this happen to me. So it was actually a month ago. I was sending like $800 of Bitcoin to one of my wallets, and I don't know how it happened, but I copied the wrong address and it went to not my wallet address. So the only way to get that money back is if that money was not accepted by an actual wallet. And then in 30 days, it goes back to your account. So what happens if a first-time home buyer ends up sending it to the wrong address or what have you? Maybe it gets evolved to a certain point because we have escrow instructions.
Yeah, so that's happened with escrow instructions and wire instructions far more often than Bitcoin.
You can track both, but in terms of reversibility, fiat's a little bit easier to do.
Probably, from what I've seen, depending on where it's going, if you're wiring us, if you have whoever's doing the wire fraud is normally fairly smart, unfortunately.
Oh, if we're talking fraud, then they're both going to be difficult.
Right. Well, that's what it is. If they're sending it somewhere else, they're expecting to send it to this one, title company for a wire instruction or, via Bitcoin, what have you.
Yeah.
A wire instruction. I've heard stories of people sending it to Switzerland or wherever else, and they never get their money back, life savings.
No, that would suck.
So, and that's a story that goes around fairly often in our office. Not that it's happened in our office, but it's a story we play and we talk about fairly often to tell people that's the reason why we have this one paper here that's wire fraud advisory. Because this has happened. This has happened before.
Tell the camera.
But with blockchain, it could be more secure. And what scares people is the unknowns. So how is it more secure? Well, it's, peer-to-peer, not regulated by one single entity.
Yeah.
And they're like, it gets confusing. And it is confusing, but it's a matter of teaching and coaching and training these particular words used to describe blockchain to be normal. And
exactly.
It's going to happen in 3 to 5 to 10 years. At some point it will. And I'm not saying adopt it now, right? And go into everything now.
Quite ready yet.
Might be a little bit before the curve, but just be ready for it.
But you can see the trajectory.
Yeah.
I see it happening. And the more people that like, what gets me is when I talk to people that are like, not knocking the older people, but when I hear people that are over 50 years old talking about this kind of stuff, that gets me going, because that means that's the boomer demographic that does not like change. That will not change for anyone.
Right.
Those are the people that still have their Razor flip phones because I don't want the government tracking me.
Yeah, I had a Razor when it came out, man.
Hell yeah, those Razors were the shit. You ever get a Crazer?
No.
My brother got that one. It was like the thin Razor version.
Yeah, never got that one.
Yeah, the Motorola. Whatever happened to them,
dude?
No.
Hey, they probably never broke, man.
They never did invest in Bitcoin.
Boomers still got those phones.
Right? Yeah, I think the only time, like when it makes sense for real estate companies or lenders or escrow companies or what have you to implement blockchain is if it simplifies and cheapens.
Right.
And maintains privacy.
Right.
If not improves. So I think that we're not there on the simplify.
No.
Because blockchain technology is really not too difficult. Is too difficult if you start trying to figure out how it works and how it was developed. And it's like,
right. Like, are you reading the codes of the wire frauds and how the code is sent over to the bank and back to the other bank?
No. Exactly. But people think that way because people don't like what they don't understand. So if they don't understand all of it, then they're going to probably dismiss all of it.
And that goes with gentrification and then a lot of industries right now. I'm seeing it all over. I mean, look at your buddy. He's owning this shop here, 28 years old and has a whole ATV shop, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, not here, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the gentrification's happening as far as the younger generations moving into the older generation spot. The older generations are retiring or moving into real estate because a lot of realtors are older, right? But we're seeing that we need to adopt that. We're going to have this shift at some point. So my whole point is that we need to not necessarily adopt it, but know it.
At least prep your minds.
Prep your minds for it. Because yes, we still need to do the transactions the same way we've been so that we're covered and learn the new laws, go to the legal updates, listen to the tools, right? That kind of thing. But it's real smart to look at something that's ahead, not in a big picture and get scared about it, but be ready.
And I think that's a lesson too for people that are even just like interested in just like buying a home. Do as much research. Like you saw the video with Jacob that I interviewed him. Like he did so much research leading up to it that it was almost like hitting the ground running.
Right.
So I recommend everyone that's like even interested in buying real estate, watch this podcast for one, and two, follow your favorite real estate agent professionals or your favorite mortgage professionals, and also, of course, do your own individual research, because that will just, it's like studying for a test. The more confident you are going into the situation.
Well, and talk to your local realtors, seriously, because we do this, or your full-time local realtors, right? We do this full-time. We go to these trainings. We get the information. We are trying to be that person ahead so that you will use us.
Right. And
right. So
we're trying to be the person to where, I don't know, I'm sure you're the same way. I know you are, as you want to be as much of a person that you can say, I can answer that question for you.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, definitely. I want to be the person that's a book of knowledge. And what I don't know, I'll go find out. Right. So I love questions, love people to come and ask. I love talking. So
I thought it was just a really, really cool topic, just because I know that the whole Bitcoin thing is not a big part of your mind when it comes to, but you have an understanding, generally speaking, of what it is. And what it is. But like, the halving was cool. And it's like almost like a combination of nervous, excited, in the sense of like, I feel like things are changing, but it's also like, it's hard to see or what's around the corner. So like, that's why I think it was a good topic for today, because when it starts with what happened, like Bitcoin's great. That's in the news, but what is Bitcoin? How does it operate? It operates on the blockchain technology, and how can that affect everything else? Because I think of not just real estate and loans or escrow. I think about simple things like just regular transactions you have at a grocery store.
Oh, I see it. I don't know how would you see blockchain being put into that? It'd
be interesting on the grocery store side of things, because the grocery store would have to be able to accept cryptocurrency.
Right. Some places do. They have those crypto ATMs in a lot of places.
But I think it converts to fiat. So I don't think you can buy directly.
See how uninformed I am.
Let us know though. Like if there's anyone that you can go somewhere to buy with just Bitcoin. I'm sure that there's probably some nuanced spots around the country that are like, we're cool. We offer
or something.
Yeah. I think like some smoke shops do.
Yeah.
Like some of those places, I've noticed it, but home builders, smart contracts with that.
That could streamline permits. When you look at the city's, records department, sometimes they're outdated, especially, when you get into the older cities in the or the 1800s when they were started and founded. And, you look at paper documents and all the stuff that has been at once scanned, messy scans, messy signatures could all be revamped with the blockchain technology, right? In order for people to see it more of a more transparent change of ownership. There's all these different words and, stipulations in it. If somebody at title, or not title, but at the recorder's office, recording could get easier. A lot of different things could be streamlined.
It reminds me just like a preliminary title report. You're saying a chain of title. You see who's purchased it, what's been recorded on that property, but it doesn't take 3 weeks to show up on a property profile.
Right.
It shows up within a couple of hours.
And that's as long as they have the blockchain technology set up within their system, which can pull it from other systems too. That's all vetted by, multiple different nodes.
Yeah.
So that again goes into the definition of blockchain, which is a wide range of definition. As far as when you look at the Bitcoin style of it, to the fractional shares, to the transactional management, to the identity, there's a lot of different things that this blockchain could do.
From the perspective of like Bitcoin, it'd be pretty much like, okay, this address was sent to that address. And then prior to me buying it, it came from that address. Like that, like you can simplify it down to that, but like fractionalized shares, let's think of it in terms of a pie, and each slice is then allocated, but that pie has a receipt to each person, each plate, if you will.
Well, I think that's the same way. Almost a similar way as Bitcoin works. Am I wrong?
So if you round it all out, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but it acts the same way throughout everywhere.
And tokenizing the actual real property and
like
real
the actual
items,
tangible asset,
and tangible assets. It's not just real estate either. It could be a car. Could be a really fancy vintage car, right?
You can start seeing more bartering like the old school days.
Oh, right. Hey, I got this real nice nickel here. It's dated for this.
We kind of are. We're just transferring a promissory note from our pocket, which happens to be a dollar bill. It's a promise of repayment.
In all honesty, you can still, if two parties agree to a transaction, you can sell your house for whatever you want to sell your house for, whether that be 2 goats or $5 million. You
can still do that.
Yeah. I'm not that it's ever a common practice. No one's going to pay 2 goats for a home. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like the blockchain, I think, can simplify the process for a lot of the consumers to be able to walk in the door, but it's still going to need to be explained. That's where, as professionals in the real estate industry, whether that's construction, real estate, lending, the 12 different things that real estate covers in a whole, right? The $1 trillion industry we are.
Right.
It's going to be affected about 30 to 50%, in my opinion, right? I'm just thinking as far as the consumer value, that's what's going to change, right? Yeah. What value do they get from who they're getting it from, right?
Totally.
And the blockchain is going to simplify it, making it a little harder for us to show our worth, you know, but if we know it, we can show it.
I agree. The more you know, the more you can give.
Right.
That's right. So kind of bringing it back to the present day. Present day, Tom, you've been in real estate for 8 years. Yep. I know we have very similar type of clientele. We're usually working with first and second time home buyers typically.
Yeah.
we have our investors here and there.
Right.
But I think would you say that's pretty close to categorize the clients that you work with? Of course, there's variance.
There's variance, obviously my sphere or anybody's sphere of influence can dip into many different ways depending on how they're looking at it. I know you and I,
we have friends that are in their 20s all the way to their 60s.
Exactly. Sometimes for me, 80s, right? Yeah. People love, I'm their little grandson. Yeah. No, I'm joking. But at the same time, the people that I'm normally helping that I find that are the most beneficial and that find the most benefit from my help are the first time, second time home buyers, first time home sellers, right?
Yeah.
They find that's where you capture the person and you really show them what a realtor can do, because they haven't done it before.
Yeah.
And then you get to the older generations that are they're okay with it because they trust you. They're like, hey, you got the process. Right. Yeah. You have it, here you go. But they're not necessarily like in shock and awe because of how it went. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So a lot of my testimonials do come from the younger generation, for one, because they use more electronics. Right.
Yeah.
But I'd say first time home buyers and second time home buyers, first time home sellers, probably like 70% of my business, 60.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that question is because I think that first time home buyers have a different level of understanding. Like, of course, we have the they don't understand how much they're actually gaining. Mm-hmm. They kind of take advantage of your time and stuff. But more often than not, most first-time home buyers are going to be in a place of gratitude for your time.
Right.
And I think that if you're trying to make a lot of money in sales in some degree, find a way to not only one, differentiate yourself, but two, try and find something that's you can buy for cheap and then sell for more, obviously, to have margin. Right. Duh.
Right.
But I think that visual representation and getting them on there first will then lead to showing that you can make a lot of money in any sales if you can be able to visually represent your actual skill set, what you bring to the table. Because I mean, I had a Zoom meeting the other day, and the reason why I bring this up is because I just saw, it's almost felt like I cracked the code in a sense of just like customer service is dying in a sense. And we kind of, we hear that all the time from like our parents and stuff. And I kind of agree. Yeah. When I go to a restaurant, sometimes I'm like, what in the hell they think that they were doing the whole time?
Right.
But I see that as a huge opportunity for anyone that's young, trying to make a good living. For one, I tell them to go to sales. Do not take a salary. Find something with commission.
Well, and everybody gets scared of sales, right? Commission only, right? There. Oh my gosh, how do you live, right? Yeah. And that's just on personally. That's just budgeting.
Right? You don't want to be level, but I guess from a place of just like, I would never want to be capped at what I can make, because then that establishes my value as a person.
Right.
Because like your value in commission is very clear and stated. Like if you didn't make any money that month, then that's on you. On you. But I think that with the diversity of what's going on in the world and everything that's going crazy, I think that people are still craving that true human connection, which I'm not too worried about the whole AI and blockchain taking our jobs anytime soon. Right. But I think there can definitely be some shocks into the market, if you will. Like it'd be like, oh, I have to know that now.
Well, it's funny, so before I was a realtor, right? I was a shoe store manager, Journeys shoe stores over in the Arden Mall. I oversaw Arden, Fairfield, Stockton, and kind of Roseville a little bit, just helped out there and there. Area sales manager is what it was called. And it was almost that same thing 9-10 years ago, right? That same aspect there. Customer service is gone. You see this. It's not, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think it's customer service gone. I think it's the sales aspect of wanting to be getting out there to go do it is gone, and people are scared. That's the fear of it, right? Oh my gosh, I'm going to be looked at like a salesman. Yeah. When in reality, if you just get the knowledge, you're not selling anybody on anything. You're just informing.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of, for one, real estate sales, because they're different than car sales. They're different than airplane sale, right? Different than every other kind of sales that you get into. Because realistically,
one-off, one pitch.
Right. Realistically, you're selling yourself to a certain extent, right? You have the knowledge that the people that you've helped. And if you haven't helped anyone, the knowledge is the key.
Yeah.
Getting to the trainings, getting to the classes, regardless of what brokerage you work for. Yeah. Go to every single one, right?
Yeah. I've mastermind with other loan officers that work at different companies. And
right.
then the reason being is because I want to see what's working for them, and I can implement it back into my business my way.
Right.
So that's like, I figured like, all right, I haven't done the Zoom thing. Oh, I've done it a few times, but I haven't been like super dialed in consistent about it. I'm always a big phone call guy, but I've just noticed that like, it's like, oh my gosh, like it was clients to where it was the first time in a long time. It was not predicated off of my interest rate. It was predicated off of like, oh my gosh, you're the first person that over the last 2 years we've been shopping. We know exactly what we're looking at, and you visually represented it perfectly. Right. And they are sticking me like glue because they haven't gotten it. People are just kind of, they're the limited amount of things that they can do to make the money they'll try and do. And if it doesn't end up working out, it's someone else's fault. But if you're a fucking dog, if you're a dog right now, you can mow over anyone. Yes. If you're in sales, if you're in real estate, you're in loans, or if you're in car sales, or if you're selling medical device supplies or pharmaceuticals, whatever. But if you are just a dog and are focused on just visual representation and just true customer service,
too,
people are just getting right now specifically. I'm sure you probably dealt with it. People get addicted to it, and they almost rely on you on things like a client that you referred me like a month ago.
Yep.
I mean, she's a good example because before I set her up with my credit repair guy, Gerard, he was actually on. She called me because we know she had a previous bad experience with a debt consolidation company.
Right.
And she called me before and she said like, hey, Sam, I'm about to move forward, but I just wanted to give you a call and I just wanted to hear it from your voice because I'm a little bit nervous, but I wanted to get reassurance. Like to me, that's a huge deal because like she calls me for the fact that it's not because she doesn't know what he's providing. It's like, I'm coming to you for comfort. It's because I created this. I'm your advisor, not just like I'm handling a loan for you.
Right. I'm not just pushing paper. I come here for any questions.
The more you can create an experience for your client, the better. And I know you're a big proponent of that. So I thought that's kind of a brilliant thing. And it was just an eye opener for me. And I think that a lot of young people are, of course, trying to make a lot of money. And if you can be that, I think I want to say it was Alex Hormozy was just like, find one thing and get freaking good at it. When you're good at something, that creates passion, and then passion then creates money, of course.
Right.
And passion, because people can feel the passion too.
Yeah. No, if you like what you're doing, you'll find that, I mean, if you've ever had a bad experience with a realtor, maybe they didn't like what they were doing, in all honesty.
And people know if they had a bad experience with the realtor.
Right. You'll know pretty quickly, and some of them are inevitable. Sometimes it's inevitable. Sometimes realtors do get blamed for things that are not necessarily in their control, being a third party and all. Yeah. But at the same time, I think, where was I going with that? At the same time, I think everybody just wants transparency. And really, people aren't getting scared as long as you have transparency with them. So as far as the sales aspect, when it comes to grabbing that person and getting that person, right? And I want them to use me. It's for me, I've never really, hopefully, please tell me if I have came across salesy with commission breath or like I need this. Oh, come on. Let's just push this to where it needs to go.
People can feel that commission breath like crazy.
And then, so when this blockchain situation, if it ever does develop into something huge,
aids in the transparency.
It aids in the transparency, but kind of, leaves away some of that human interaction. That's why I don't think that it's going to affect the human interaction part at all.
I think that's part of why it's not going to happen anytime soon, but the transparency would be there. But in terms of just like, you can't really use blockchain technology to explain what the strategies look like and how you can be able to get this home.
Right.
Because there's so many different avenues, which usually need to be done by a working brain that's able to work situationally rather than something that's automatically just like automated to do one task at a time type of thing,
Right. I understand that. I think AI, depending on how much more advanced they get, that
who knows?
But at the same time, it's just about being knowledgeable, man.
Yep.
Being knowledgeable.
Speaking of experience, I was curious, what's your opinion when a real estate agent or a loan officer comes up to you and the first thing that they says is how many years they've been in the business?
Oh, it's so fun. Especially when I first started, I was intimidated, right? Like, but I think
I get the opposite now.
It's an opposite reaction, when it's like, hey, even if I was like, I've been doing this for 8 whole years. It doesn't.
That's your value proposition to me.
Really?
Which is lame.
What's the value there? And I've been doing it for 50 years. Or 30. You stuck back in 1990?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's especially with the new technologies coming out and the people who don't necessarily know how to send a timed email. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the level there. It's like, okay, well, you may have been doing it for this long, but I don't know if that's a plus for you anymore.
Yeah, when you started, it was.
But it is to a lot of people. It is a huge thing for a lot of agents. 25-year neighborhood experts, seeing the growth. I get that aspect of it. But when you're using it front off, it's like, oh.
Yeah, I have some more shorts coming out there, red flags, and one of them is real estate agents. And I need to make another one because I would honestly categorize if a real estate agent comes up to me, the first thing they said is their experience. I would consider that a red flag.
Yeah.
Because I think that if they're prioritizing that within their value proposition, that means what else you got? And
I can understand the drive to do that. You know what I mean? Being like a little older in the industry now, little bit, I can feel like sometimes I want to be like, oh.
It always seems to be used in a situation where it's almost just like, you don't know what you're talking about. I do because I've been in the business.
I've never wanted to use it in that situation. I've always wanted to use it so that I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I always looked really young, right? So I've been always like, oh, I want to use like, hey, just so you know, I've been in real estate for 8 years, even though I look like I just got out of high school. I'm growing more now, so it's fine. But
I think it aids in your credibility. It's just you need to know exactly what else you bring to the actual market to be able to help your clients win.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's this one I talk about with my processor all the time, but there's this one escrow officer, and I won't say her name or the company, but it was not even local in the area. And all I'll say is she started by saying, when I told her that there was something that was wrong, of course, nicely, I say, hey, this needs to get corrected. Her first response back was, I've been in the business for 35 years. Trust me, it's right. What ended up happening?
And probably ended up being wrong.
It was wrong. Yeah, because it's just like, for me, I don't care about that. Like I would rather work with an agent that has less than 10 years of experience, because I know, and especially if someone in their 20s and 30s or even 40s, I know you still have that energy and the drive to get shit done.
Right.
Because like you can be in the business, like my dad's been in the business for 40 years, but he will tell you that you Sam all the way, he will get it done 10 times faster than me. It's just, he doesn't got it anymore. And I love him to death. He tells me that all the time.
Okay. All right. You're safe. You're safe.
Yeah. I'm not talking shit on my dad. He's just saying, like, if I were to want to buy a house, I want someone I know that is going to be sticking to my file like glue.
So that I've actually had happen to me multiple times, just in the last, since my career started, right? I mean, it's been like, oh, young buck wants to get in there and like that aspect of it. So I always kind of felt like oh, hey, I've been doing this for so long, kind of seemed like a complacent comment. No. Like when other people say it, like when other people say, oh, I've been doing it for this long, it's kind of like, well, then you're complacent.
Yeah. So to me, I see, that's what I think that's where my brain kind of was trying to go with it, was that, like, I think that their experience speaks for itself and you should see that type of thing, rather than like, for one, I have 30 years of experience. Plus I also have had, in the last 3 years, I've done 50 listings. From X range to X range. My marketing strategy is this, and this, like laying it out.
Right.
Rather than just like, trust me, everything that you've seen, I've seen. I've been in the business for 35 years.
Yeah, trust me. Yeah,
trust me. It's like,
I've been there.
Because I think about it from the perspective of just like 30 years ago, our business was just like, I think of lending and real estate. Like it's just different.
Yeah. No, it's different than 3 years ago. It's different than 2. Think about COVID, right?
Loan guidelines have changed. Real estate contracts, disclosures, like contingencies, like everything has changed. So what else you got?
Yeah. What else you got?
You got to just have the finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
So that's why I like going to PCAR and stuff. And
I will say, being a director at PCAR is awesome. And if anybody would like to get into it, or just get into it further, contact me or anybody at PCAR, right? Placer County Association of Realtors, for those of you who don't know. Once you get into that side, it's really hard to turn around and not look at it anymore, because as a realtor and a lender, you realize that there's so many different things that make it possible for you to be able to do your job. And those things are done at that, city level over in PCAR, right? Or even at California Association and National Association. Those levels drive like the gears for how we're able to do business, the litigations that we're fighting and the ones that we're going for, and what's the word? It's fighting and opposing, right? So opposing or defending, right? The ones we're defending or want pushed through, we have 100% rate of, or 100. We never fail when it comes to anything we're battling. And so it's amazing that majority of realtors don't even know what goes on at the association's level. But once you start volunteering and getting into those committees and those levels, you see it. You can be like, and you can't turn a blind eye.
No, you can't. Yeah. You can't. You really can't. And I'm glad that you're on there. We definitely need some younger blood up there, because they can definitely have some older school type of ideas and thoughts and stuff like that. But I think that it's important to be able to have your finger on the pulse for that, because you can at least feel like you're instituting some change, which you can, that's what's cool about being in the Association of Realtors, because we actually got a big bag to work with.
Yeah. And I will say, regardless of the people say the entire, board of directors themselves, everybody's amazing on it, right? Everybody's amazing. No, I'm joking.
No, I'm just saying in terms of just like, cause they have someone in 31 all the way into their 70s.
Right.
So it's just like, it's nice to have a diversity of different times of life.
Agreed.
Because everyone's in a certain step in their life and they're caring about certain things. And it's a good way to kind of come together and find the middle ground, if you will.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a slide to the people that are older.
Oh, those guys over there.
Those guys are girls or women, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes. I like to always ask a question to a real estate professional. So I did not prep you for this.
You did not.
But
Felt like something was coming.
It should be automatic, but we'll see. If you were to give
I hope I get this
3
right.
pieces of advice to a first-time home buyer, if their goal was to buy a home, what would those 3 be?
Talk to a lender. Save up money. Talk to a realtor.
Those are fair. That's good because the lender side of things will see if you need to save more money.
Right. I mean, obviously, I like to say people talk to a realtor first, but those are the steps. You talk to a lender or a realtor and save money and budget, right?
So do you prefer someone going to a lender first and then a realtor?
It depends on their preferences,
because I think most of the time people do go to the realtor first, mainly because that's the fun.
Because they walk into the open house, or they want to see that. So most people do
start on Zillow before anything else because that's what's fun.
But then they get the feel of it's salesy, right? You know, they start in that way. So I always recommend getting to know a realtor. Most of every single person, a realtor in your life, right? Every single person I know 7. I mean, I know hundreds now, but before I was a realtor, I knew 3, right? That I wouldn't have necessarily before becoming a realtor even reached out to them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a matter of, talking to your realtor or your lender. Most of the time you have somebody that does it and not be scared of their conversation because they're going to say, buy a house. They're going to say, run the numbers. They're going to say, save money.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you anything bad to do, but I'd say lender or realtor.
Yeah.
Either one. I don't see how either one would lead you differently. If that makes sense.
Because I think that if you were to talk to a realtor, they would get you over to a lender to at least see where you're at financially.
Vice versa.
And then financially, you'll see if you need to save more. And then if you need to save more, you save, and then go back to the lender, and then you connect back with the real estate agent. Right. So it's kind of the triangle of success, if you will. So
a realtor, good. I will say, will keep you more updated on the housing market, right? Yeah. Down a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, hopefully, right? As long as you're signed up to their newsletters or ask them or show interest, right? We don't like to bug people. I don't like to bug people too much. So if I'm not going to mass spam out market update to every single person unless I've already been in contact with you about the market, right?
Right. Yeah.
But that's just me personally.
Totally.
But what do normal people answer?
I asked Kevin a 3 question. I asked him if you were to give 3 pieces of advice for someone who is trying to be an entrepreneur. And I think his was, of course, education, get on a team, and then also or a mentor. And then I think the third one was...
Oh, for talking about being an agent, you're saying, or something?
Yeah, brand new agent or an entrepreneur. I figured it followed into the same mix. But I like to ask 3 questions that kind of give some value to our audience. Be able to articulate exactly, because that's your scope, and that's the whole idea of this channel, is to be able to make sure that the experts be able to talk on what their expertise is.
For sure.
And that's my expertise is lending, yours is real estate. We had Gerard on, he's credit. I'm going to be having a pretty big appraiser on in May. I think I told you about it. I need to get some builders in here. If you know anyone, let me know.
Okay.
And also I'd love to get someone that was like really, really into cryptocurrencies and blockchain and stuff like that, because I know as much as I've researched, and I am no expert by any means.
I know as much as my phone can tell me or Google can tell me, right? That's why I'm playing around with my first little bit on it. Should have done it years ago, right?
Yeah.
Heard about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies when I was in, I want to say 8th grade. I mean, a long, long time ago. When they were very, 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 very early on starting out, didn't think anything of them, and then 2017 or something, it was just all of a sudden, boom.
2017, and then 2021, and then now. So it's like every 4 years or so.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of this channel. Also, I'm just glad you're able to come on.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is my first time on screen on anything, so I'm just
you did great.
Like I told you, man. I'm just trying to get used to being out there. So.
You did great, man. Well, I'm glad to have you on, my friend, and
you, brother.
I'll have to have you on for a part 2. We know I already talked about it before, so we'll have to schedule that for the future. But love to have you on, and I hope you keep killing it in the real estate game.
I just hope I look normal in this thing, dude. I'm like, oh.
You're going to be bulked up next time I see you.
Yeah, man. Start working.
That's going to be the title. Tom Dunphy.
Tom got big.
Yeah, Tom got big. Yeah, Tom the Tank now. What happened?
No, they call me Tommy Tough Knuckles. Yeah.
Whoa.
No, my buddy's going to like that I just said that.
Dude, you can get big. You can get big. You got a good physique. You can do it.
Yeah. I could.
Anyways, thanks for being on, my friend.
Appreciate it.
And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.